What's up, Spud Nation? Week 3 fantasy football. Let's get right to it. We're going to start out every episode from now on. We're going to congratulate. And if you have some smack talk, let me know. We'll get this smack talk going. I love it. That's what fantasy football is all about. Obviously winning the trophy, winning that money. But get that smack talk in. Let your friends know just how good your team is. If you have any of that going on, hit me up, Craig at thesportscoach.com. YouTube, been huge. Hit me up at YouTube, The Sports Coach channel. Also, on the website, The Sports Coach, or on Twitter, The Sports Coach handle. So, there you go. All the ways to get at me. You guys know how to do it. Do it up big. Starting out, congratulations to Beck. Beck found me on YouTube. Starting off things right. Doing it big. Beck, congrats. Tyler, Lindsay, Ray, we got some rookies, 2-0, dominating their leagues, getting work done, all coming through the Sports Coach right here for information, helpful hints, tips, whatever you need to do to get wins. I got to come at someone. Goss, coming for you, kid. Hey, this is a big, big matchup. He likes to flap his gums. You know how we do. Goss, you're coming at me. Coming at me 2-0. Trying to take my title away. Well, I'm knocking you off the pedestal. And you know what? Through it all, I'm helping you out, giving you advice, information. That's how we do it here. So, and regardless, baby, I'm coming for you, taking you down, and knocking you out that #1 spot. All right, that's out of the way. Now we're getting started. Thursday night football. It's great for fans. It's great for fantasy football players. Horrible for the New York Football Giants. They got bit by the injury bug very, very hard during their last game, and they are in for a world of hurt this week. What are the Giants going to do? Who knows? Injury report. Hakeem Nicks, out. Ahmad Bradshaw, out. Huge losses for the football Giants. So, alright. Couple things I was supposed to talk about before I go crazy and get into Thursday football. We're going to hit this up. Alright. Sucking. I had a question. Some people sucking. What are we going to do about it? So these guys are sucking right now. Aaron Rodgers. Alright. I told everyone to take him #1 in the draft. Dude is still the man in the NFL. I would take him in a heartbeat. And his sucking is 3 touchdowns, 76 throws, 522 yards. I will take that all day long. It's Aaron Rodgers. Very difficult matchup against the 49ers out of the way. The Bears game went nowhere close to what I had planned. And you're right. He doesn't suck. Aaron Rodgers, still the man. Drew Brees, sucking. 4 touchdowns, 101 attempts, 664 yards. He's got a rushing touchdown. Drew Brees, you're okay if you're a Brees owner. He's not sucking. And lastly, Tom Brady. 3 touchdowns, 77 attempts. Dude's got 552 yards. I'm okay with Tom Brady too. All you owners out there who are so quick to sell, hold on, pump the brakes a little bit. Your sucking quarterbacks are going to be just fine. And they're not that bad to begin with. Some injury news. Matt Forte for the Bears. Opens the door wide open for Michael Bush. This is why they went out and got him. Bush has been their major runner anyway. So, Michael Bush is going to be a must-play. C.J. Spiller and Reggie Bush, their value. Or Michael Bush value, nonetheless. Michael Bush, must-play. Reggie Bush, I talked about him last week. In last week's show, the kid gets a bunch of touches every week through the air, on the ground. He obviously had a monster game. Reggie Bush is a must-play at all times. And C.J. Spiller, I can't say enough good things about this guy. It's all about touches, and C.J. Spiller is the guy in Buffalo. There's no more Fred Jackson. Even when he comes back and is healthy, Spiller is going to be the man on that team. He's going to keep putting up big numbers. He's got every opportunity to do it. The Bills have been running the ball extremely well. C.J. Spiller, you're the man. Jamal Charles and Chris Johnson. I told you all before anyone drafted avoid these players like the plague. You don't want them. And guess what? You don't want them. Chris Johnson, absolutely horrible. All you people that went out there and said, oh, I love Chris Johnson, he's going to have a huge year. Wrong! Chris Johnson is terrible. He showed it last year. He's showing it this year. What does the kid have? 21 total yards? That is absolute garbage. If you have him, pray to God you can trade him. Get rid of him. Jamal Charles as well. He barely played last week. He's hurt again. Tweaked that knee. It's not good. Not a good situation. Charles has the attempts. He's got almost 100 yards on the year. Just not pretty. And lastly, Darren McFadden. He might have had some struggles running the ball, but he is getting touches through the air. I'm okay with Darren McFadden. Hold on to him. He'll be okay. Robert Griffin III is legit. That's all I can say about him. We'll talk about him later. The dude has become a top 10 quarterback. He is Cam Newton reincarnated. I didn't think it would happen, but RG3 can throw it, and he can run it. I love it. RG3, if you went out and drafted him, oh, great job. The waiver wire is going to be hot this week. Mikel LeSure. You don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to have a role with Detroit. They're looking for that stud running back. This could be the guy. Dennis Pitta. Hey, what did I say last week? Ed Dickson was the guy? Not anymore. Pitta is the guy. He gets all the looks. This is a guy you want to snag right now off the waiver wire. Donnie Avery. Yeah, not a huge name, but he keeps getting targets. He's getting plenty of targets. Had a huge game last week with the, what do you have, 111 yards. Also, the week before with the touchdown. Luck is looking for him. Avery has value. Amendola, huge, says enough. He is the guy in St. Louis. Get him. Get him, get him, get him. He's a flex start, wide receiver 2. Put him in there. He's going to put up numbers. Brown for the Giants. Obviously, ton of value with Bradshaw being out. Mendenhall, he's going to come back about week 5, they're saying. Snag him up now. Get some value while you can. Kellen Winslow just got signed to the Patriots. He could be a very nice option. They're saying they're going to slide him in the Hernandez slot and do work that way. And lastly, Scott Chandler for Buffalo. Hey, a receiver goes down, Scott Chandler steps up, touchdown in 2 straight games. I like what this kid can do. They don't throw the ball a lot, but when they do, he's the guy, especially in the red zone. Last thing I want to say, Todd, you asked me last week, Andy Dalton, Matthew Stafford. I gave you Stafford as my answer. I was completely wrong, and you know what? I apologize. You got the win anyway, so I don't feel as bad, but I hate being wrong. So there you go. Todd, good job, man. Happy you got the win. Sorry about the false information. Here we go, Thursday, Giants. We start Eli Manning. Yes, you do. Hakeem Nicks out, so Victor Cruz, my God, this dude's stock went way up. He is going to be the guy that Eli looks to. This also increases Bennett, the tight end, increases his looks. Look for him to have a very nice game this week. Andre Brown, he looked great when he stepped in for Bradshaw during last week's game. Brown, nice play, especially those of you who went out there and handcuffed Bradshaw when he got injured. Brown, nice play. For Carolina, Cam Newton, obviously, Steve Smith, and now everyone's calling this the best backfield in the NFL. It's tough on you fantasy owners. Who's going to get the carries? What week? Jonathan Stewart might be listed as the number 1, but D'Angelo Williams had more attempts last week. Yuck, I stay away from it. If you need to start a guy, hopefully you don't have both of the running backs. Slide one in and hope you get lucky. Sunday football, Cowboys. Which Dallas team you going to get taking on Tampa? Tampa isn't great, but they look like a pretty solid team. So we'll start with Dallas. Romo, he's got a bunch of attempts, and they're going to continue to throw the ball. Miles Austin is stepping up to become that guy that I thought Dez Bryant was going to be. So Austin is a start. DeMarco Murray, what a game last week. 12 carries coming off of week 1's big game. Really frustrating to see. Hard for Murray owners to swallow, but you have to start him unless you're extremely deep at running back. And then lastly, Jason Witten. He's coming around. You can tell he's slowly working his way back. 4 catches, almost 60 yards. They're going to start looking to him more on the offense, and that's great for Witten owners. Tampa Bay, Doug Martin must start. Vincent Jackson must start. Vincent Jackson is putting up great numbers so far this year. And Mike Williams, he's a sneaky play. If you need a flex guy, wide receiver 3, someone got injured on your team, Mike Williams, slide him in there. Low number of catches, but a touchdown in 2 straight weeks. He was one of the sleepers I had coming into this year, and he is not disappointing. Colts, Jaguars. Well, Jaguars, it's easy. Maurice Jones-Drew is the only guy you can really give any sure stock into. Mojo, you start. For the Colts, don't blink. Don't blink now. Colts are looking like a relevant offensive team. Donnie Avery getting a bunch of targets like we talked about earlier. Reggie Wayne being he's revitalized this year. He looks like Steve Smith from last year. It's great to see Andrew Luck connecting with those 2 guys. And Andrew Luck is not a fantasy starter just yet. Playing a Jaguar team was not very good, but Luck still is not breaking my starting lineup. Buffalo, Cleveland. Should be a huge game for Buffalo. If you have their defense, it should be a nice game for the Bills D. CJ Spiller, I'm all in with this dude. Start him, start him, start him. He is the #1 scoring running back in all fantasy football right now, at least in my Yahoo scoring league. Spiller's your guy. Start him. Scott Chandler, like I said, a nice sneaky play at tight end. The more he's getting targets. He's scoring touchdowns. Chandler is a start now. Stevie Johnson is a start. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, again, I said last week he'd be a sneaky start. I think this week, same thing. Fitzpatrick, he doesn't throw it in volume, but against a Cleveland defense without Joe Hayden, look for him to throw at least 2 touchdowns and Buffalo to get another win over the Browns. Fitz, I'm starting him. Cleveland, Brandon Weeden coming off the best game of his young career. Still not starting for me. Trent Richardson, once you know it, coming off of week 1 and that horrible outing. Trent Richardson just looked like an absolute beast. Richardson earned a starting spot through that. I'm sure he wasted a pretty high draft pick on him. Shouldn't say wasted. Used a high draft pick on him. So Richardson, give him a start. Let us see what he can do again. Again, multi-purpose running back, can catch it, and can run. Jets. Good Lord, roll the dice and see what happens. They're playing a Miami team that they should beat up on, but you never know what you're getting with the Jets. Sean Green, I'm not starting this week. Santonio Holmes, wide receiver 3 or a flex play, and Hill as well. He did nothing last week. Injury plagued already. Keep an eye on the injury report. He's a nice deep play, flex play, wide receiver 3, if you have that slot open. He could be a sneaky play against a Miami defense that's very susceptible to wide receivers scoring touchdowns. In Miami, Reggie Bush, only guy to give consideration to. Bush, 29 touches last week. Instant start. Saints, Chiefs, must starts. Drew Brees, Darren Sproles, Jimmy Graham, no questions asked. Colston, I have him slotted at a wide receiver 3, just because of all the different weapons they have. And lastly, Mark Ingram. First time I'm mentioning him this year, kind of a sneaky guy. Last week, 16 carries. The week before, it was like 5 carries. You never know. It's very inconsistent. But if you're hurting at running back, Mark Ingram's not a bad option. They like using him around that goal line. And we know the Saints can move the ball. So 16 carries, hopefully that's on the up and up, and Ingram will continue to get some carries. For the Chiefs, Dwayne Bowe, still your man. I said last week, he's always a must start. always getting targets, coming away with like 8 catches a game. Bo is a nice play. And Jamal Charles, I'm benching him. You never know when he's going to tweak that knee. When he runs, it's not all that well anyway. Sitting him on the bench, hopefully you have a backup plan to put instead of him. Washington, Cincinnati, RG3, he's for real. He's starting unless you have Stafford, Drew Brees, Rodgers, any of the big dudes in front of him. RG3 is your guy. Alfred Morris, I love. I'm starting him. A bunch of touches, I should say, and that's half the battle at the running back position. Pierre Garçon, will he play? Hopefully. Keep checking on the injury report. Garçon plays. He's a must start. He's a game changer, and RG3 throws to him often. For Cincinnati, AJ Green must start. Benjarvis Green-Ellis, running back 2 or a flex play this week. He gets a bunch of touches, just is having a hard time finding the end zone. And in very deep leagues, Hawkins, he's first week, high volume of targets and catches. Second week, 2 catches, that humongously long run after catch for the touchdown. But Brandon Tate is your guy that you should be targeting. He's Cincinnati's number 2. He's starting to come into his own. They are starting to like him a lot. Brandon Tate in deep leagues, check him out. He's going to start getting targets and he's going to start putting up numbers. Chicago Bears, you're starting these guys. Cutler, Marshall, Michael Bush, and Alshon Jeffrey is a nice wide receiver 3 flex play against the Rams. Rams, Danny Amendola. What can you say, but this dude just catches the ball. PPR leagues, he's a must start. Get this guy in your lineup. And something for you guys to look at. If you have Steven Jackson, I hope you ran out there and picked up Daryl Richardson, because I'm not quite sure what the status is on Steven Jackson's injury. Keep an eye on the injury report. Hopefully you can handcuff yourself. This Richardson kid is looking really, really good right now. Looked solid when Jackson left the game last week. So keep an eye on that. Daryl Richardson, if you haven't picked him up and he's out there, that's a name you should get out there, find, and put on your team. 49ers, Alex Smith, looking great. Someone commented that he is the sleeper quarterback of the year. Not quite. You're looking at RG3 as the sleeper quarterback of the year. Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick. Alex Smith, though, is looking very good. Game manager, throwing nice balls to Vernon Davis. Smith, not a starter for me yet in my fantasy lineup. Frank Gore, you're starting. Vernon Davis, you're starting. Crabtree is a flex play. I really, just sentimental value, think Randy Moss is going to have a touchdown this week. Going back to Minnesota. Minnesota's not that great on defense this year. And you're looking at Randy Moss going back to the Dome and catching that touchdown and doing his thing. He went back to Green Bay, did the same thing. He can do it in Minnesota. If you have Randy Moss and you're looking for a touchdown, that's your guy. For the Vikings, you start Adrian Peterson and Percy Harvin. High volume touches, and they're productive. For the Lions, Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, must start, no question. Brandon Pettigrew, I hope if you have him, he's your best tight end because the dude can play. Start him. And Mikel LeSure, this is where it comes in. It's a very, very risky play. His first week back after suspension. What are they going to do with him? How much are they going to use him? They drafted him to be the guy. Will he step in right away and take all of Kevin Smith's glory away? LeSure and Smith, I'm telling you right now, if you have other options, start them, because it's such a gamble. This is a huge gamble this week. I would love to give them both the weekend on the bench to see what Detroit has in store for them. So if you have that luxury, go for it. If I had to pick someone, I would have to give Smith the benefit of the doubt. He's still the guy. He's still a starter. And we'll see where they work LeSure into. For the Titans, I don't really like anyone on that team. Chris Johnson, horrible. Kenny Britt, look for him if he's a free agent. Pick him up. He'll have an expanded role. He played about 20 snaps last week. Kenny Britt, look for more. And Damian Williams, I talked about him last week. Damian Williams, he's stepping up to the plate, getting a lot of catches. They're targeting him. Damian Williams, he might be the cream of the crop right there for Tennessee. Chargers, Falcons, Rivers, Ryan Matthews is back. Thank God. Ryan Matthews owners are jacked. If you have him, start him. They're talking about sliding him right back in. He's been through contact for 2 weeks. He's ready to go. He's back in game shape, supposedly. So get him in there. And Malcolm Floyd is a must start. For Atlanta, Matt Ryan been tearing things up. Julio Jones struggled last week. Roddy White stepped up and showed he was the guy in Atlanta, no questions asked. And Tony Gonzalez must start. The running back situation in Atlanta could have gotten a little bit more messy than it was to begin with. I get a lot of questions about Michael Turner. I had questions about him going into last week. He got in the end zone, guys. Turner still getting touches, still getting carries, and around the goal line, that's where that big bowling ball of Jell-O can get you some points. I know he's not making the cuts the best. He's not the fastest guy anymore. He looks a little slow, but you can be sure when they're around the goal line, he's going to get you some points. So Turner, if he's what you got, go for it. Turner's going to get you carries, and he might even sneak a touchdown in. Philly, Michael Vick, way to rebound. The guy's been throwing the ball an enormous amount of times. That's great for fantasy owners. If you have deductions going on in your league for interceptions, bummer, because he is turnover prone this year. But Vick's a start, McCoy's a start, Jeremy Maclin, injury bug killing him, looking like he's not going to play, but that's great for Brent Selleck owners. If Brent Selleck is a free agent in your league, go get this guy. Look at his numbers last week, like 150 yards, tons of targets, and he's always been productive when Michael Vick's in the lineup. You take Vick away, Brent Selleck goes away. With Vick out there, Brent Selleck is the guy. Get him in your lineup. For the Cardinals, I'm sitting Larry Fitzgerald this week. Philly cornerbacks have been doing damage to every receiver that comes in there. Larry Fitz, with nobody throwing him the ball, sit him on your bench. Pittsburgh, if there was a game for the Steeler running game to just explode, this is it. But look for Pittsburgh to throw the ball. Pittsburgh's got a running game that split exactly 50-50 last week. Mendenhall's not back yet. We got Dwyer, we got Redmond. Who's the guy, who's not the guy? I stay away from that garbage. Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, both good plays this week. For Oakland, Darren McFadden, you drafted him high, you start him. And a guy I want you to keep an eye on or run out and get, Brandon Myers at tight end. He seems to be the go-to guy on offense when they're going through the air. He's a sneaky play. Probably a guy that not a lot of people know about. He led the team in catches last week. If you can do that at a tight end spot, he's going to get you some points. Texans, Denver. Texans, you start Arian Foster. Ben Tate's working his way into the rotation, hopefully. I'm still not starting him just because Week 1 was garbage. Week 2, he was gold. I don't know. He needs to find a happy medium in there and prove something more to me. Owen Daniels looks like a fantastic play this week. The tight end's been pretty consistent on his production. Look for him to maybe find the end zone this week. This would be a really good week for Owen Daniels to score that touchdown that everyone's hoping for. And Andre Johnson, more than likely he'll be one of your better options this week if you drafted this guy. I don't like his matchup necessarily, going up against Champ Bailey. Denver's secondary isn't that bad, but Andre Johnson, he's still supposedly the number one for Houston, so give him the start. For Denver, Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas, Willis McGahee, if they're on your teams, they are starting. Baltimore Ravens, Joe Flacco. He's not a starter in my fantasy world yet. Ray Rice, you start. Dennis Pitta. We talked about him last week. I just went by depth chart, didn't know enough about this guy. He is now a fantasy player's dream. Pitta is the guy. He's their #1 target. He gets thrown to more than Bolden and Torrey Smith. Run out there and pick this guy up. He's been gobbled up all over this week in fantasy leagues. So hopefully your league's a little slow and this guy is available. Torrey Smith is a flex play at best this week. For the Patriots, I'm getting a lot of questions about, do I play Tom Brady against the Ravens D? Yes, you do. Brady's just, you can't go against this guy, especially after a bad week. Gronk is a start. Welker and Lloyd, I would start Wes Welker, starting to find his way back into the offense, especially with Hernandez out. And Brandon Lloyd, he's getting targets, which is huge. So Welker and Lloyd, if they're on your team, play them. Stephen Ridley's going to have a tough time this week. They're going to try and keep the running game going, but Ridley against that Ravens D is going to be a very tough matchup. So if you have other guys you can slide in there, have Ridley take a seat this week. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, you start. Jermichael Finley, you start. And I think if you have any of these three guys, they're going to be nice plays, even though they're going against that tough Seattle secondary. It's in Seattle. But you have Aaron Rodgers, and you have receivers of this caliber. Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, and Randall Cobb, you start them all and go with it. Feel positive and strong about your selection. And lastly, for Seattle, Marshawn Lynch, that's your guy. You start him every week. Love that guy. There you go, Spud Nation. Hey, this is a big week. Some of you going for 3-0, go for it. Get that job done. You have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up. Craig@sportscoach.com, on Twitter, on YouTube, anywhere you want. Come find me. I'll help you out best I can. We're all about winning here. Go out there, get it done, Spud Nation. Till next time, we're out.